On Monday, Daily Maverick and News 24 published the latest installment of our investigation into Justice Minister Thembi Simelane's 575,000 rand loan from VBS corruption-accused fixer Ralium Razwinani.
You see, the problem is hypocrisy. It's the nurses that scream and yell at patients when they're in pain, the mayors that don't fix their cities, the policemen who know the criminals better than they know their community, and the Minister of Justice who has no intention of implementing it.
We have obtained the loan agreement between Simelane's T5 investment group and Razwinani's Gunda Wealth Solutions, signed on the 30th of September in 2016. At the time, Simelane was still the mayor of Polokwane, and Gunda Wealth Solutions had been contracted to the municipality for 3 years to provide investment brokerage services. As we've previously revealed, Gunda only facilitated investments with VBS and was paid kickbacks by the bank for those investments from Polokwane.
The problem of South African ANC leaders is hypocrisy. They want us to believe they are one thing and they pretend to be one thing while they're none of those things.
The inconsistencies in the loan agreement mean that we believe the document was written long after the money was actually paid over. This includes apparent foresight from the people who drafted the document into exactly how money was going to move. But there's also inconsistencies between the document and Simelane's version provided to the public and before Parliament.
This is the human condition, and they show us every single day why you cannot put your trust in ANC leaders. The Justice Minister is now under suspicion and carrying on like everything is fine. Even the whiff of suspicion should be enough to put a stop to whatever she's doing and to ask her to step aside.
Justice Minister Thembi Nkadimeng says she's had discussions with President Ramaphosa about the furor over a loan that she took when she was Polokwane mayor. That loan of more than R500,000 was from a company that brokered unlawful investments by her municipality into VBS Mutual Bank. Simelane used the loan to purchase a coffee shop in Sandton, Johannesburg.
I'm good.
See the
I'm
president?
Good. I'm good. I'm at work. I'm here because I'm at work. The event I'm going after too, it's about work. Pabasa, it's the gala dinner. It's a Pan-African Union of Advocates of South Africa. Yesterday I was at the Justice College the whole day. On Thursday I was in Parliament. On Wednesday, half day I was in Parliament. Half day I addressed the SADC Law Association at Forte. I'm good. And I'm carrying my responsibility to ensure access to justice to all South Africans.
And you've handed all your reports, all the documentation to the president. You just await for him now.
Well, a discussion and issues between the president and the executive, they remain private, and like that, I'm at work. See you on Monday.
The morality and ethics of the typical South African leader are out of the window. So the Minister of Justice has all these problems, has all these issues, is suspected of corruption, and then she says, everything is fine because I'm going to, or I have spoken to the president about it. So the president and the Minister of Justice walk into the president's office to have a meeting. They sit down, they pour some rooibos tea, and what do they say? What on earth can the president even say? If Thembi Simelane, the Minister of Justice, says, Mr. President, I'm absolutely innocent of this, because if Thembi is asked to admit what she did, to step aside, or dare I say, even to resign, all she has to do is point back at the president and say, you first.
I have said and admitted that there was a theft at the farm, and I reported that to a general of the South African police, who later informed me that he's also reported it to another general of the South African police. That matter obviously is under processing within the police service. They are dealing with it. I deny that there was any form of money laundering. I have said, and I've said it more publicly, that it was proceeds of sale of game.
This is the hypocrisy of the ANC leader. This is what we deal with every single day. Because what can the president even tell this woman? Where can he lay down a marker, lay down the law, put a line in the sand and say, no further, Thembi, you're out of a job, you are corrupt? Because the same things can be said about him. The same things can be brought to his door. He has no leg to stand on. And that's the president we have. If the president can't enforce the law, if the president can't speak up, if the president can't put his people in line, because he would be the biggest hypocrite.
In June 2022, former spy boss Arthur Fraser blew the lid on the first Citizen, in a revelation that would become the nation's biggest test to haunt him to date. A suspicious global lens landed on President Ramaphosa, with calls for accountability calling for him to step aside. The incident, which dominated headlines, became the subject of investigations through core institutions in the country, as well as a probe by the Section 89 independent panel set up by Parliament. The panel was the first to answer the question of a possible ethical violation by the President. The report made adverse findings that the President may have a case to answer. The panel, led by former Chief Justice Sandile Ngcobo, found among other things that there were discrepancies in the President's account of the events that took place on this Phala Phala farm in 2020. Parliament would later vote against its adoption, but before that, a media briefing was called where it was believed that the President would throw in the towel in an imminent announcement, until his spokesperson emerged, pouring cold water on the growing rumors of a resignation.
He has no leg to stand on. It is all about the individual and never about the citizen with the ANC government. They are a moving contradiction. The ANC government and its president cannot discipline its members because the president would have to be the first one on that list.
Were deemed successful by the Director of Public Prosecutions, which we welcome. And I think it's about time that I unleash my client so he can speak for himself.
I do welcome this, the decision of the DPP. Of course, I welcome it with mixed feelings, as you know what happened in the past 3 months. I have no doubt that the DPP, to arrive at this decision, he applied his mind on facts before him, not on the basis of what sometimes we hear in a trial of public court of opinion.
You think it's because there's no more case? You think there's no more trial? You think he can just go back to being minister because it was a false accusation? It's obvious that if you bring Zizi down, who else do you need to bring down? Who else needs to answer? Do not be surprised if Mapisa Ngakula, Bule Mabe, and Zweli Mkhize also have their cases thrown out of court, because if they go down, the president goes down. Become a member of this channel today on our Buy Me a Coffee page. You'll get exclusive members-only content, which are courses, 15 to 30 minutes long. We add a new one every single month on various topics linked to the channel. When you're a member, you get access to all of them on our Buy Me a Coffee page. Check it out, the link is in the description. Subscribe to the channel or Cyril Ramaphosa will be president forever. This is what happens when you have leaders who have no sense of meaning and purpose. You get hypocrites because everything they do is fake. It doesn't have to mean anything. It doesn't have to have a true purpose. They pretend to be good while doing all manners of evil. They use their free will to victimize the South African citizen instead of serving him. They have no sense of personal responsibility for their actions because the point for them is to be hypocrites. Their hypocrisy is their faith, is their religion. Their rationality is based on how much they can get, and the emotions they spare for themselves and not for the poverty and lack that they see around them. This is the hypocritical South African parliamentarian, minister, all the way to our president. They speak about poverty, they speak about ideologies, they speak about ideas. They're always speaking about what they're going to do, and they never get there because what they're really doing, what they really spend their time doing is stuffing money in their sofas and getting money from VBS to build coffee shops. That is what they go into the office to do every single day. It is an absurd sort of country that we live in with absurd little leaders. They have a religion of themselves. They use the freedom that they have now acquired over the last 30 years to keep South Africans in poverty and lack, to starve their children, to bring them bad services, to keep them in fear through crime, all while the country crumbles. The conclusion is very simple. If Thembi Simelane walks into the president's office and they sit down and they're going to discuss all these allegations in her case, and he has to give her any directive, she walks out of there having her job fully intact and continuing like nothing is wrong. Because what can the president really even say? What can he really put on her that is not on him first? If he asks her to come clean, to step aside, or to resign and pay the money back. All she has to say is, Mr. President, you first. A saying, it takes something more than intelligence to act intelligently. Dostoevsky. Cyril Ramaphosa, Thembi Simelane, Zizi Kodwa, Pule Mabe, throw whoever you want on that pile, cannot act intelligently to do what is right for the country because they have a hypocrisy problem. The case is closed. What we need is a new political party altogether, because the more they get intermeshed with the DA, the more the hypocrisy will spread instead of being rooted out. We need a conservative party coming in 2029. We now have a course on Teachable. It's for boys between the ages of 10 and 18, about 12 men from the Bible, where we teach about manhood, masculinity, and becoming a man. Check it out.